5.1 Nigeria info. It's 10:01 p.m. and we are officially on the couch. Make sure to join us. Come get comfortable with us on the couch via our Facebook and YouTube handles. You want to go to Nigeria Info 95.1 Abuja to join us there. Started a conversation last week. We're hoping to bring to a close today, and that is knowing the right kinds of questions to ask and the right kind of conversations to have before you commit to a relationship with somebody. And it's important because a lot of what happens when it comes to marriages, relationships, and how well they fare boils down to conversations that you may or may not have had before you decided, oh, I love you. Do you really love the person? Because if you had those conversations properly, what it would mean is that you are ready to deal with the consequences of whatever their views on certain things may be. It could be their views on children. It's possible you get with a partner who is not looking to have children, but by the time you realize it, maybe you have already been wrapped around her little finger in love, so to speak. You want to be able to have questions on family and friends, relationships with family and friends. How close are you to your family? How close are you to your friends? And how is that going to factor out in our relationship? You want to be able to have conversations around conflict resolution. I jokingly mentioned the post that I saw last week where, a lady said, look, I need to know that if we have a problem, we have an issue, we are quarreling, there's somebody that can take your matter to, that can listen and advise you. You understand? And you will also listen to them. It's everything. It's also conversations on religion. What are your stances on religion? Some people will say, oh, I don't mind if my husband is a Muslim while I'm a Christian. Some say, oh, I don't mind if my wife is a traditionalist while I'm a Christian. Or another person says, all of those things. And it's okay for them until it's time for the children to come about. And okay, where are the children going to go? Who are they going to go with? And then you find that you're stuck. Conversations around finances. And the one that Coach M and I were on last week when the conversation came to a close, that was beginning to cause some kind of brouhaha. The one on sex. I remember Dozier's message last week when, at a point, when Coach had responded to the conversation about why the role that sex plays and all of that, and he went, your guest is scaring me. And it came to a point where we're trying to find a balance. But Coach M is back with us this evening. Very special welcome to you, Coach. Good to have you here as always. How was your day?
Thank you very much. It's great to be here.
How was your day? You're looking stressed like me today. What happened?
Yeah,
some days are like that, eh? I understand. Okay.
Yeah.
Anyway, welcome. So let's see if we can tidy up this particular topic today. We touched on a few things last week. You gave a background to even, what commitment is, what stages that they are before commitment and all of that. And then we were talking about a number of things. So let's see if we can wrap up the conversation this evening. What are the kinds of conversations or questions that you need to ask, conversations you need to have or questions you need to ask that will determine whether you are truly ready for commitment? Over to you, boss.
Okay, thank you very much. Good evening, everyone. Good evening, our wonderful listeners. And we always enjoy your participation, your comments and questions and all of that. So you're welcome again. There's something about the way you ask this question now that is a bit different from what we're talking about.
Is it?
Let me point it out to you.
Okay.
Just a little. So you said you're asking about questions to ask the person to know if you are ready for a marital relationship.
And conversations to have. Yes.
Yeah. So I am saying that why I say it's a bit different is because if you are not ready, it's not somebody else's conversation that will make you ready. Do you understand? So I think the conversations are to find out if you want that person, not if you are ready. Okay,
Coach, but you know
so
that there are some things that you may not realize that you are not ready for until you have a conversation with a certain person.
So this is where I'm coming from. You don't need a conversation with someone else to realize that you are now ready to get married.
No, we're not talking getting married. We're talking about committing to a person. I know marriage is the ultimate goal for you at the end of the day. I know. I've said it even before you said it.
I define relationship in terms
said it.
Of marriage.
Yes.
Yeah. So it's, for me, the conversations are to find out if the person is the one for me, not if I am necessarily ready. Because I'm saying that because I feel like what is most important for the individual to know whether or not they're ready for commitment to someone else borders on their own levels of maturity, spiritually, emotionally, physically, right, financially. Time will fail us to get into all of that. And then, do they have a sense of personal awareness, self-awareness? What do you know about yourself? What do you know about where you're going? Because that's what would even be a very key factor in checking if somebody aligns with you in that direction, right? So for me, as the individual, you should have these basics first, and then when you're talking with people, you are as it were measuring them against what you already have going for yourself. You're checking them out against your self-concept, your beliefs, your values, your dreams and aspirations. Are you getting it now? So that's why it's important you even know that for yourself first. That was all determine if you even know what to talk about or what to look out for, right? So I'm sure you get what I'm saying.
I do.
So still on, yeah. So some of the conversations, to just pick it up from where we left it, you want to check this person's cultural disposition to life. And I'll break that down. You want to check what they believe about man and woman, husband and wife, about the roles of the husband and the wife, the roles of the man and the woman in the society. Why? Because there are a lot of cultures where people believe that there are certain things that a woman should not be allowed to do. A woman should not dream beyond particular limits. You know, a woman cannot participate in some kinds of jobs. It's a man's role, right? Now, those are cultural belief systems. So you want to even check, what does this person generally think about the concept of man and woman in the world, generally? All right. Does this person think equality, or does this person think superiority? Till date, there are still a lot of people who believe that the man is superior, as it were, to the woman. Do you understand that? So if you are a lady who believes that God made all of us equal, right? And then you ought to get married to a man who believes that just by being a woman, you don't level up to me in any way. You can't, when I'm talking, you keep quiet. Like, I'm not rubbing any opinion off of you because you don't have a say. You listen to me, you take my instructions, right? If you are going to say you are dating or considering that kind of person for marriage, you people are already going to have problems. Why? Because your cultural dispositions are completely averse, from each other. So you want to check that. What do they believe about the concept of man and woman in the world generally? Okay. What do they think about the concept of husband and wife? There are people who believe that the wife is subservient to her husband. She's more or less a servant to him. She's there to do his bidding. She cannot have an opinion. She cannot take a position on things. It has to be what the husband says. All right. So you want to find out, what does this person think? Does this person believe that we are partners in this journey of life? Does this person believe that you have valid wisdom that they can benefit from? Or do they think that you're the woman, in this case, unfortunately, this point is skewed against the women. Does the person believe that you, the woman, cannot be empowered? and you should not, as it were, you can't participate in the real conversations of life. All you have to do is the kitchen as a room, or take care of the children and keep the home, right? So you want to check culture. And I'm saying this because this is very key. This is very key. There are people who you may align spiritually, you may align, you attend the same church, you are workers, when it comes down to it, when you will discover that this person has a very strong cultural mindset that does not favor the expression, the full maximization of the woman's potential. What I see happen many times is that some people find this out and think that they can win this person over by argument. You're playing. You are playing. You would argue for a very long time. You would fight for a very long time. They're not going to change. Oh, I remember one. What about the people who will tell you stuff like, the woman is not your family member? They say she's not your blood. Your blood is thicker than any woman. She's an outsider. But the children that she gives you, they will say the children belong to you, but the woman is not a member of your family. So people who believe those kind of things are the kind that their family members can talk to their wives anyhow. They can treat them anyhow because you don't belong here. A younger brother can come to the house and speak disrespectfully to the elder brother's wife. The younger sister can come and talk to the wife anyhow because you are not a member of this family. You are just my brother's wife. You get what I'm saying?
Yes, I do.
These things I'm telling you are very real. So you want to be sure that you and this person are agreeable in terms of your cultural mindset. Now, all of these things I'm saying, right, from my own educated and empowered viewpoint, right, I believe that it's not healthy. But then some people will tell you that
that's my culture.
This is how me too.
Yes.
In my place, exactly. In my culture, this is how we believe it. Then good and fine for you. Go and marry that person because that is exactly what works for you. The key here is that you want to check your level of agreeability in matters of cultural disposition. Do I agree with what you are presenting? Do you agree with what I am presenting? You get that? So that is very, very key, and people need to check that because no matter the level of sophistication and the fizzy and steez and all of those things you hear these days, even in the young generation, a lot of people still grow up with those cultural strongholds in their mind, and these things are very difficult to break. All right, so that's one thing you want to find out. And for these kind of things, let me say this, right? It's not everything you would necessarily find out by conversation. I've said before that while you're conversing, you also have to be very observational. You have to observe, and then you have to wear your discernment hat. You have to be able to hear beyond what is being said and to see beyond what is being presented. And I'm not talking suspicion now. I'm just saying allow your spirit to be able to vet and tell you, I'm not comfortable with this. Probe on this a little bit more. Check this out. That's what I mean by discernment, right? Some people, their own is suspicion. The way I'm seeing this man, the last time I saw somebody like that, and then you just start joining cases and coming up with assumptions that don't necessarily apply, right? So while you're conversing with them, you're checking, you're observing how they relate with other people. Some of these things will come out from them, all right? One thing I tell people is that at this stage of, selection, you want to ask a lot of questions, and these questions don't have to be written down. The questions can derive from every conversation you're having with them. It could be about soccer you guys are discussing, and they say something, and then you find out what they think about that. You find out what they think about this other thing. It could be any updates on the news or social media. All right. Oh, there's been this big wedding, or it's the talk of the town, and then you want to know what they think about such big wedding. What do they think about intercultural marriage? What do they think? Don't I tell people, don't think that don't make it too academic or too legalistic, like, oh yeah, let us now discuss. I have 15 questions on my list. Question number 1, what is, come on now, come on, we're not playing. So by observation, right, by gisting casually, you'll be able to pick on things that you need clarity on, right? So now I've talked about cultural disposition and all of that. You also want to find out what kind of family they were raised in. Let me tell you why this is very important. The first place where there's any kind of influence cast on any individual's life is the family where they grew up. Whether they grew up with their own parents, with caregivers, with uncles, aunties, neighbors, grandma, grandpa, wherever it was that they grew up, that place, the experiences there has cast already a very strong influence on these people's beliefs, their values, and their mindset. So you want to find out what it was like where they grew up, because believe it or not, there are still some residue from that, unless such a person has very intentionally gone through the process of learning and unlearning and relearning, and uninstalling all of those disempowering paradigms and installing new ones. That's in the cases where there are disempowering paradigms from the background, right? Now, unless the person has intentionally gone through that level of reformation in their lives. If not, whatever it was they experienced growing up, trust me, they have some residue of that. And if you get into a family with them, they are most definitely going to carry on such behaviors. All right. So you want to find out whether there was even peace in the home. You want to find out how their parents related. Can you confirm if you can hear me?
Yes, loud and clear. Loud and clear. Loud and clear.
Great.
Yeah.
Great. All right. You want to find out what kind of relationship did his dad or her dad have with her mom, right? What kind of relationship did they have with the children?
What if the person is closed off about these things? Because some people would not like to get into this level of expose on their family members, especially if you go by the definition of how the stages are, dating stages. Like, why should I be telling you about the relationship between my father and my mother? Like, what's in bring that one? Who are you? I don't know you like that.
No.
There are some people that are closed off about it.
You're not asking for their intimate secrets. You're not asking for their intimate secrets. It's just a harmless question. If the person is not comfortable answering, then no problem. But okay, that also tells you that this person is not willing to open up on certain things. Perhaps there are things I need to know about that. All right? Mm-hmm. Yes. So those are your interpretations. Perhaps there's something this person is not proud to share. Perhaps there's something they are not willing to talk about. So until we find out what it is, we're not passing this place. And when I say we're not passing this place, I'm talking about with reference to your own openness and commitment to that person. You guys can still be gisting, eating out, and doing all of those things, but you know that no. There's a place we have not passed.
Okay.
And if I don't get that clarity, then there's no way we are now getting more serious in this relationship until we're willing to talk about those things. You see, so, and thank you for raising that question, because I see this also play out a lot. People are trying to find out things about their would-be partner, and that partner is either deflecting or outrightly letting them know, forget about it, it's not your business. And then I ask them, so why are you still going ahead? Because you will meet these surprises. You will meet it in the future. There's a particular case of someone, the lady trying to know about the husband-to-be's family and all of those kind of things. She kept asking, the guy was just forget about it. Well, you're not marrying my family. It's me I'm marrying. And what matters is me. Okay, no problem. Until wedding preparations. And then they had to pay a visit one day, and she saw that, first of all, there was nothing like peace, love, unity around this person's upbringing. Everybody was antagonizing the other. And she kept asking herself, am I willing to this family? Is this how it's going to be? You're not even close to your siblings. You can't even, your first visit and a fight is almost breaking out and everything else, they have to carry you to escape before they break your head. And you're wondering, is this what I'm marrying into? You see? So that's why you want to find out. So that early enough, you can decide if with the level of knowledge you have, you still choose to go on or not go on. But not that you have committed so much of your emotions and everything into that relationship, only to meet some shockers at the tail end, and now you're wondering, am I willing to do this?
I've got a question on this
so
family,
it's
on this
important.
family one, Coach M. Sorry to cut in there. I've got a question on this family one. I don't know. In this
fine.
part of the world, I would view it as, so for example, if my sister came up to me now and said, oh, there's this guy I want to marry, amongst all the many other questions that I would ask, there's one that I feel it's important. I want you to weigh in on this. And as a listener, if you also agree with me on this, let me know as well. You can call in or send a message, let me know. My sister wants to get married. There's a question I will ask about the guy, right? Because, of course, she's marrying a guy. Is he the firstborn or is he the lastborn? I don't know if it's me, if it's paranoia, but there is something about certain traditional homes, right? When you're talking about the experience, trying to find out how they relate and all of that, there's something about relations with a firstborn son and relations with a lastborn child. Maybe not son per se, but with firstborn and lastborn, there is something there. Maybe in the course of your work, has this played out in a certain type of way that it will become an important element to ask before you commit to somebody? Firstborn and lastborn. You are laughing, Coach. This is a serious matter.
Yeah, I'm laughing because so it's what I would say is it's valid for knowledge, right? But I don't know the extent to which it has to be a determinant whether or not you should get married to the person. Why did I say it's valid for knowledge? Because birth order is a real influence on people's personalities and behavior. In fact, there's a work done by psychologist Kevin Lehman where he talked about the birth order factor. And he went on to break down how being a firstborn, a secondborn, an only child, a last child, different dynamics around all of this.
I asked about only child too. Is this person an only child? Go ahead, please.
Yes. So you want to find that out so that based on knowledge, you are able to anticipate certain kinds of responses or behavior or expressions from them. Do you understand? The question is, are you emotionally mature enough to relate with those expressions? All right. So it doesn't have to be a determinant to say, oh, no, I can never marry a firstborn, no, no, I can never marry a lastborn. No, because there are firstborns who are emotionally psychologically mature enough to moderate the downsides of the firstborn behavior. There are lastborns who are emotionally and psychologically mature enough to not behave like the downsides of a lastborn.
Okay.
Do you get what I'm saying?
I hear what you're saying on this. I hear what you're saying on this, Coach. But so when I'm talking about, why this question will probably come up if somebody came to me that I cared about and all of that, is not in relation to their expression as firstborn or lastborn. It is in relation to how the family relates with their firstborn or their lastborn child and how it can play out in your relationship. So that's what I meant. Do you understand? That? Okay, so I need to go on a quick commercial break. Let me let that, stew on that a little bit. And when I come back, perhaps you can help me provide some perspectives to that. Thank you.
More conversation, more talk, more right after this.
We are back and still on the couch, all nice and cozy, even though we're having some conversations that some may consider make or break when it comes to the relationships. I don't know, as you're as coach is reading out some of the conversations, some of the questions and all of that, you're probably getting a bit squirmy on the couch. But at the end of the day, I believe if we are able to ask these questions or have these conversations and get clarity on ourselves when it comes to readiness for commitment, as well as our partners who are looking to commit to, it saves us a lot of stress, a lot of emotional heartbreak, a lot of emotional turmoil down the line. Remember, the phone lines are open. You can participate in the conversation. Perhaps you need some clarity on some things that coach is asking about. Perhaps these are conversations that you had before committing to that significant other. And at the end of the day, it didn't quite pan out. Is it possible, perhaps, that sometimes when these conversations are had, we may not get the kind of the actual answer? We'll get an answer, but not the one that it actually applies to the conversation or to the people in question. People may say something that they do not mean while having these conversations. We're going to touch on some of that as well, but the phone lines are open. You can join in, you can ask your questions, or if you feel differently, you can call in as well. 0700951 0000 or 009597486 on WhatsApp. It's 0809 993-0137. Coach Mayzy here, and I asked him to stew on something just before we went on the break. So let's bring him back and talk about it. Hi, Coach.
Yes, thank you very much. You are talking about the importance of finding out, how people's
birth orders,
cultures, I should say, relate with the firstborn.
Or the last-born, or the only child. Yes.
Or only child. Yeah. Do you have any particular example, first of all, before... is there a particular example you want to share on?
Okay, let me put it this way. You were talking about, conversations that should be had around how the family that, the family of this person that you are intending to commit to, how they relate amongst themselves, the peace, whether there's peace, there's this, there's that. Let me see if I can come up with one story that happened not too long ago. So there's this thing about the firstborn son and what was due to him in the event that maybe the father was to pass. I think in his case his father was to pass or something like that. And so the father has been grooming him from when he was young to take over from him as the patriarch of the family. So I think when the father was passing or something like that, of course, the will came into full effect. And then you now have a situation where the young man is now responsible for his family, even his mother. And then he gets into a relationship with somebody, and it's like they're fighting this person because by virtue of the fact that this is now the person that is taking care of us, you coming into the picture is you coming to rob us or short us of our ration, something like that. Do you understand? That's the closest example I can think of in terms of firstborn relations. In some instances, it may not necessarily be tied to a will or an inheritance. It could be just a case of this. In fact, I think even from the Eastern extraction, if you want to talk about it, there's some parts in the Eastern extraction where it's the Ada that is even viewed from that point. Do you get? So as a man marrying an Ada, you have to be ready. Okay. So you get what I mean? Okay, that's a firstborn example. I'll probably give you lastborn examples, but firstborn example. Let's work with that.
Okay. So I just needed some kind of clarity to be sure that my thoughts were aligned with what you were asking. It's also why it's important to ask those questions about family of such a kind of responsibility. It's important that for real. All right?
Like, how?
No, I know what I'm saying now. Mayzy will just say never. It's not my